Something's happening to you right now that you probably can't see yet, but I can see it. And if you're watching this video at this exact moment, it means you're standing right at the edge of something massive. Not in some mystical, but in a very real, very tangible way that's about to shift everything you thought you knew about your own potential. You know that feeling when you're driving at night and you can see the glow of a city on the horizon way before you can make out any buildings? That's exactly where you are right now. You're seeing the glow. You're sensing something big coming, but you can't quite make out what it is yet. Here's what I know about you, without even meeting you. You've been feeling restless lately. Not anxious exactly, but like you're outgrowing something. Like the life you built, the routines you've settled into, the version of yourself you've been comfortable being. It's all starting to feel a little too small. Am I right? Maybe it started a few months ago with small things. You'd catch yourself staring out windows more often, or you'd be in the middle of your normal day and suddenly think, is this really it? Not in a depressed way, but in a curious way. Like your soul was tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, remember that thing we talked about? That dream you had? That person you wanted to become? Or maybe you've been noticing synchronicities everywhere. Numbers showing up repeatedly. Conversations that seem to echo themes you've been thinking about. Random encounters that feel anything but random. Your logical mind keeps trying to dismiss it all as coincidence, but something deeper in you knows better. And here's the thing that's probably been driving you crazy. You can't shake the feeling that you're supposed to be doing something different. Not necessarily bigger or more important, just different. More aligned, more authentic, more you. But every time you try to put your finger on what that something is, it slips away like smoke. You'll have these moments of crystal clear clarity, usually when you're not trying to figure anything out, when you're just walking or showering or falling asleep, and suddenly you'll know exactly what you need to do. But then you grab for it too quickly, and it vanishes. That's because you're not supposed to grab for it. You're supposed to let it come to you, and that's exactly what's happening right now, whether you realize it or not. See, there are stages to human development that go way beyond what they taught us in school. We learn about childhood, adolescence, adulthood, but nobody talks about the deeper stages of consciousness that happen within those frameworks. The stages where you don't just grow older, you grow more awake. Most people hit one of these transition points and they panic. They think something's wrong with them. They try to go back to who they were before, or they try to force their way into who they think they should become next. But you can't rush these transitions, and you definitely can't reverse them. Think of it like molting. When a snake outgrows its skin, it doesn't have a choice. It can't decide to stay small and comfortable. The old skin starts getting tight and uncomfortable until finally, the snake has to shed it completely to make room for what it's becoming. That's what's happening to you. You're molting. The old version of yourself, the one that got you this far, is starting to feel constraining because you're literally outgrowing it from the inside out. And this isn't happening because you did something wrong or because you're having some kind of crisis. This is happening because you did something right. You've been growing, learning, expanding your awareness, and now you've reached a point where the container of your old identity simply can't hold who you're becoming. The crazy part is, this next stage has been preparing itself in the background of your life for months, maybe even years. All those little nudges you've been getting, all those moments of dissatisfaction with the status quo, all those dreams and ideas that keep bubbling up, they've been breadcrumbs leading you to this exact moment. But here's where most people get stuck. They recognize that change is coming, but they try to control exactly how it happens. They want to manage the process, schedule it, make it convenient. They want to transition into their next level of being, the same way they'd plan a vacation or change jobs. It doesn't work that way. This kind of transformation happens on its own timeline, according to its own intelligence. Your job isn't to force it or even figure it out completely. Your job is to recognize it, trust it, and get out of your own way so it can happen. And that recognition is what this video is really about. Because once you see what's happening, Once you understand that you're not losing your mind or going through some random rough patch, but that you're actually in the process of upgrading to a completely new operating system, everything changes. Suddenly, all that restlessness makes sense. All those moments of feeling like you don't quite fit in your old life anymore, they're not problems to solve. They're signs that you're right on track. The discomfort you've been feeling isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's designed to motivate you to keep moving forward instead of settling back into what's familiar but no longer serves you. And those glimpses of clarity you keep getting, those moments where you can almost see who you're becoming, they're not teasing you or torturing you. They're previews. They're your future self reaching back to let you know that yes, this is real, and yes, it's worth whatever temporary uncertainty you're experiencing right now. But knowing this intellectually is different from really getting it in your bones. And there's a specific process that happens during these transitions, a predictable sequence of stages that everyone goes through when they're moving from one level of consciousness to the next. Understanding these stages changes everything, because instead of feeling lost or confused about what you're experiencing, you start to see exactly where you are in the process and what's coming next. The first stage is what I call the stirring. It's that initial sense that something needs to change, but you can't put your finger on what. It feels like an itch you can't scratch, a song you can't remember, a word that's right on the tip of your tongue but won't come out. During the stirring, your current life still looks perfectly fine from the outside. You're functioning, you're meeting your responsibilities, you might even be succeeding by conventional standards. But internally, there's this growing sense of mismatch between who you are and how you're living. This stage can last weeks or months, and it's characterized by a lot of questioning. You start examining assumptions you never questioned before. Why do I do this job? Why do I live here? Why do I spend time with these people? Not because anything's necessarily wrong with these things, but because you're starting to need deeper reasons than just habit or obligation. The second stage is what I call the cracking. This is when the pressure of outgrowing your old identity starts creating visible fractures in your life. Things that used to work stop working. Relationships that used to feel solid start feeling strained. Goals that used to motivate you start feeling empty. This is where most people freak out because it looks like everything's falling apart. Your tolerance for superficial conversations drops to zero. Activities that used to distract you stop providing relief. You might find yourself crying for no apparent reason or feeling angry about things that never bothered you before. But here's what's really happening. Your old operating system is becoming incompatible with who you're becoming. It's like trying to run new software on old hardware. The system starts glitching because it simply wasn't designed to handle your expanded capacity. The cracking phase is uncomfortable, but it's also sacred. It's your psyche's way of creating space for something new to emerge. Every crack is an opening. Every breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise. Then comes the third stage, which I call the void. This is the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's the gap between releasing the old and stepping into the new. And it's probably the most challenging stage because it requires you to be comfortable with not knowing. In the void, all your old reference points are gone, but the new ones haven't solidified yet. You're in this liminal space where you're no longer who you used to be, but you're not yet who you're becoming. It feels like floating in space without gravity or direction. This is where your ego throws its biggest tantrum, because the ego's job is to maintain continuity of identity. When that continuity gets disrupted, the ego sounds every alarm it has. It will tell you you're making a huge mistake, that you should go back to the safety of who you were before, that this whole transformation thing is dangerous nonsense. But the void isn't empty, even though it feels that way. It's pregnant with possibility. It's the fertile darkness where new life gestates. Think of it like the space between the lightning and the thunder. Something powerful has already been set in motion, but you can't perceive it yet. The fourth stage is emergence. This is when your new identity starts to take shape. not all at once, but in glimpses and fragments that gradually coalesce into something coherent. You start getting clear signals about who you're becoming and what you're meant to be doing. During emergence, you'll notice your energy shifting. Things that used to drain you start feeling neutral or even energizing. New interests surface, seemingly out of nowhere. You find yourself drawn to different kinds of people, different kinds of experiences, different ways of being in the world. This stage requires patience because emergence happens in waves. You'll have breakthrough moments followed by periods that feel like regression. But that's not regression, that's integration. Your system is learning how to embody this new version of yourself consistently. The final stage is embodiment. This is when your new identity becomes your natural way of being. You're not trying to be different anymore, you just are different. The transformation has moved from something you're doing to something you are. In embodiment, there's a quality of ease that wasn't there before. You're not fighting against yourself or forcing yourself to grow. The growth is happening organically through you. You've become a clear channel for whatever wants to express itself through your unique configuration of talents, interests, and life experience. But here's something crucial to understand about these stages. They don't happen in a neat, linear progression. You might experience elements of multiple stages simultaneously, or you might cycle through them several times at different levels of depth. And here's the part that changes everything. Once you recognize which stage you're in, you stop resisting the process and start cooperating with it. Instead of trying to skip ahead to the comfortable parts, you learn to extract the gifts that are available at each stage. The stirring teaches you to trust your inner knowing, even when it doesn't make logical sense. The cracking teaches you that endings are just beginnings in disguise. The void teaches you that not knowing is actually a form of knowing. Emergence teaches you to recognize and follow the signals of your authentic self. And embodiment teaches you what it feels like to live in complete alignment with who you really are. Right now, based on everything you've been experiencing, you're somewhere in this process, and wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. There's nothing to fix, nothing to rush, nothing to control. Your only job is to stay awake to what's happening and trust that this process knows exactly what it's doing. So if you're recognizing yourself in any of this, if something deep inside you has been nodding along as I've described these stages, then you already know what I know. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not making any of this up. You're exactly where you're supposed to be in a process that's far more intelligent than your logical mind could ever orchestrate. This restlessness you've been feeling, this sense that something big is coming, it's not your imagination. It's your future self calling you forward into the next stage of who you're becoming. And here's the beautiful thing about finally understanding what's happening to you. Once you stop fighting the process and start flowing with it, everything becomes easier. Not because the transformation stops being challenging, but because you're no longer adding the extra layer of resistance that comes from thinking something's wrong. The stage you're in right now is preparing you for something you can't even imagine yet. Someone you can't conceive of becoming from where you're sitting today. But that person is already there, waiting for you to catch up, sending you these signals and synchronicities to let you know you're on the right path. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust that whatever's trying to emerge through you is worth whatever temporary discomfort you're experiencing. Because on the other side of this transition isn't just a new version of you. It's the version of you that you came here to be. The next stage is closer than you think.